With the obscene amount of trailers that Mortal Kombat 1 has been pumping out on their main channel on YouTube, we should have expected to see more than the current amount of Kombat Kast that we've been receiving for the upcoming reboot in the franchise. Unfortunately, we've seen less than stellar amounts of character breakdowns and lore for the characters coming out of NetherRealm Studios, and I'm here mostly to talk about that. I kind of wanted to explain what I think is going on with the Kombat Kast right now, considering we just had the second Kombat Kast almost a full month after the last. So I'm gonna run through what MK11's cycle looked like for the Kombat Kast, how the first one went wrong in the eyes of fans, and kind of rehash some of the points from my first video, and also explain what went wrong and what went right about the second version. Before we start, hi, I'm Zak Not Kyle, or Zak for short, and I talk about video games as they pertain to creative writing and popular culture. I'm currently studying for my BFA and MFA in creative writing, and I'd love it if you stuck around for some funny, goofy content. Subscribe with the silly red button, like this video, and comment your thoughts on the situation below, and without any further ado, let's get into this mess. So for those of you who haven't been around here long enough, the Kombat Kast is a Mortal Kombat and NRS ran podcast that basically goes over the upcoming games or DLC for the franchise. It talks about character breakdowns, lore, and is run all by NRS employees. That's pretty much all you need to know for this, and in order to explain why the Kombat Kast cycle has been so out of sorts, we need to go back to Mortal Kombat 11's Kombat Kast cycle back in 2019. So I went back and I actually looked at how many Kombat Kasts we got for Mortal Kombat 11 when it first came out, and I counted 7 or 8 depending on how you wanted to take it, which is definitely a lot more than we've been getting. We only got one for July, one for August, and apparently there's one in September coming, but I don't know if I believe that, which would put us at 3 instead of 7. Now, why is the run so different? Well, I think it's for one main reason, and that is the timing of Mortal Kombat 11's release versus the timing of Mortal Kombat 1's release. For those of you who don't know, Mortal Kombat 11 released in April of 2019. With that came a very different cycle than what we're seeing for Mortal Kombat 1 this time around. Because the game was announced in December 2018 and it would be released only 4 months later in April of 2019, there's not a lot of cons or real things to show at events, which is why we got things like the MK11 reveal event back in January of 2019 to showcase the first 7 characters and lots of different gameplay mechanics. And it's also why I think the Kombat Kast became as prevalent as it was. There was a lot of different episodes for lots of different characters in order to showcase all the characters that weren't going to be showcased in different trailers at different cons around the world. And that's definitely starkly contrasted to what's going on with Mortal Kombat 1, where it got announced in May of 2023, and it's not going to be released until September 2023. Since then, they've been at cons like San Diego Comic-Con, EVO, DreamCon, etc., and new trailers are getting revealed at like all of these events. It's insane. That definitely did not happen with MK11, and I think it sort of explains why the Kombat Kast has been radio silent. The reason the Kombat Kast has been so silent is because the Kombat Kast mainly thrives on viewership of fans who want to see new trailers. The only trailer showcased in a Kombat Kast so far was the Lin Kuei trailer with Smoke and with Rain. And in that initial Kombat Kast where Smoke and Rain got revealed, we didn't even actually see their gameplay. We didn't even see Smoke's gameplay until the second Kombat Kast a month later, and we haven't even seen how Rain plays. Which I think also sort of leans into my criticisms of the new Kombat Kast. For as much crap as I give the dev team when it comes to their timing of this because of con season taking over everything when it comes to reveals, I can kind of understand where they're coming from, but this goes back to one of my points from my original video on the Kombat Kast where I said they needed to pre-record things. Not just because MK fans are absolutely goddamn unhinged, but that's definitely a factor. Because pre-recording the Kombat Kast and then uploading them later definitely would have made things feel a lot better for the dev team, who wouldn't have to rush to put out Kombat Kast in a timely fashion while going to a bunch of cons. That way we're getting consistent breakdowns of different characters, showing how high-level gameplay looks with different characters, while not suffering under the time constraints of going to all these cons all over the US. So my main criticisms of Mortal Kombat 1's first Kombat Kast back in July were that the length was definitely too short, considering like 15 of the 45 minutes of that runtime was a countdown screen, the showcases being a little bit sloppy and also not giving enough time to their characters, and also the timing of it. We definitely got a trailer, but we didn't even get a Kombat Kast until 6 weeks in, and people were yelling on different social media platforms for us to actually get one. Another side note, I also did mark the chat as a reason why I did not like the Kombat Kast. I have definitely learned my lesson, but I guess NRS learned that lesson for me, and that is because there is no live chat replay for the Kombat Kast. And I think the reason for that definitely has to do with how absolutely insane the comments were for the last one, so it's probably better that they did not leave live chat replay on. But again, it just kind of defeats the purpose of all of this being live streamed, considering considering the fact that the Kombat Kast would not only be able to have higher production value and be put together better if they were pre-recorded, but also they would definitely take a lot of stress off the dev team. So looking into the second one, I think the breakdowns were definitely better this time around. The Garrus one was obviously a little sloppy because Tyler's inputs got a little bit off, but like, you know, it happens. Literally, I screw up inputs all the time when it actually matters in online. And the Astra and Smoke ones were really, really good from Stephanie. She's always very good at breaking stuff down. And we didn't actually get a trailer this time, but a lot of people did know that from Stephanie actually tweeting about how we're not getting a trailer from this Kombat Kast. But to that I say, if the Kombat Kasts had a lot of emphasis on trailers in order to drive viewership, then what's the point of not adding one? And then I remembered that they got announced that they're going to DreamCon on August 27th, and that kind of sealed the deal on my argument of con season screwing over the Kombat Kast exponentially. So in my opinion, here's how frequent the Kombat Kast probably should have been in order to keep not only the steam for the competitive scene going, but also keeping the steam from the fans going so they know who to main, who they want to play, and what characters kind of feel like. Also, another thing I did not mention is that the episodes are very inconsistent with the characters that they're showcasing, which is something I didn't touch on just yet, but the fact that we got one character from each of the last 3 trailers is kind of jarring to me because I wish we would just get all the characters from a trailer together so we could talk about them and go through their moves, but instead we're getting it cut up in really weird pieces. So basing things off of MK11's Kombat Kast, I kind of wish we got 8 for this time around. Considering there was about 3 months, we could do like every 1 to 2 weeks we get a new cast that's pre-recorded. So I personally think it should have been episode 1 being Scorpion, Sub-Zero, and Liu Kang, and this would be right around the time when the initial Mortal Kombat 1 trailer dropped so we could get a feel of how new characters are being reinterpreted in this new era. Episode 2 I think should be Katana, Melina, and Johnny Cage right after the gameplay trailer drops, so that way we could see how Johnny plays in this new universe, while also seeing how Samedeni and Royalty would throw down. Episode 3 could be Kung Lao, Raiden, and Kenshi, and I think this would be a good one as a buffer in between San Diego Comic-Con and like a small break for fans to kind of just recoup from all of the new characters getting announced. Episode 4 I think could be Smoke, Rain, and Garrus, where they actually do show the Lin Kuei trailer, and then maybe getting Garrus as well, because personally I think the timing of Garrus' trailer was really weird and I wish it did come earlier because it would just make more sense for all the other episodes that I'm about to list. Episode 5 should be Li Mei, Tanya, and Baraka, so we're not deviating from the characters, and it makes a lot of sense to show Li Mei and Tanya as characters who were fully reinterpreted, and Baraka who had his lore completely rewritten, and sort of how he's changing. Episode 6 would be Astra, Reptile, and Havoc, because again, we don't want to really go off of the rails when it comes to trailers, and this would definitely be the one that would be most recent. Then the 7th one could be before or after DreamCon, going over characters like Reiko, Sindel, and Shao Kahn. That is if the DreamCon trailer does actually have those characters. If not, that could change. And episode 8 could be Natara, Shang Tsung, and whoever the last character is. Oh yeah, can we talk about that? Small little side tangent, but Mortal Kombat leakers have not been able to determine who the final 24th character on the roster is right now, and no one has been able to accurately predict who the last cameo fighter is as well. It's a whole different debate going on right now. People are between Fujin, Jade, Sonya, and a couple of others. Personally, I think it's going to be Fujin, only because of the fact that like Ed Boon literally hinted at a lot of MK4 characters coming back in multiple tweets. Also, Fujin's name was on that 19 character roster to my knowledge. I will correct myself in post editing if that is not true, on top of a lot of other evidence that seems to stack in Fujin's favor. But again, that's just me, and that would be a great time to reveal that last character would be in the final one, because it's a massive mystery right now. And then all of this could just culminate in the September 19th release, but instead we're getting a very, very sloppy schedule because cons are ruining things for the Kombat Kast. I also do find it mildly interesting that the devs can never give a clear answer on what the day is until the day before the cast happens. I don't know if that's bad communication within the team, or if they just genuinely have such tight schedules that they cannot pick a day. But with that, I think I'm gonna end this video here. Did you like the new Kombat Kast we got? Did you not like it? Were there any characters you wanted to see come out of the woodwork? Is there any characters that you're really excited for that we got to see in the Kombat Kast? Are there any high-level gameplay characters you want to see in the next Kombat Kast? Let me know in the comments below. And with that, I'm about to start college next week, and I'm very scared of what my upload schedule will look like. So if you see me getting a little less frequent with uploads, you know why. Bye, sis.